Hello and welcome back to my studio. My name is Sarah and this is my painting journey. This is a weekly vlog where I document my attempt to become a professional landscape and wildlife painter. Thank you so much for joining me today. First up, let's talk about what I have on the easel behind me. So this is Trail to Devil's Kitchen. It is basically finished. It is as finished as it's going to get right now, at least. Gonna live with it for a while, see if I still like it or not, if it needs any other work. Some wonderful people over on Reddit in the Art Crit subreddit gave me some excellent advice for helping to increase the depth, the realism. Wonderful, wonderful advice over there, so big thank you to those folks. Helped me out greatly. So I'm just gonna live with this painting for a little bit. It is destined to be entered in the California Art Club Lazy Days of Summer show, which is coming up in, I want to say the show is in July. The entry closes in April though, so I'll be entering this, assuming I still like it in April. I should. It actually has come out far better than I expected this one would. So that is what I have on the easel today. Coming up, I'm torn between two different ideas right now. I found a wonderful coyote portrait and a free reference on Photos for Artists group on Facebook that I want to tackle. Absolutely wonderful. Looks like it would be a very successful piece if I were to. Or I want to tackle another painting for the California Art Club Spring Show that's coming up, which is I want to say it's called Spring Awakenings. The deadline for that is February 16th, coming up really fast here. I think I can bang out one more painting for it. I do already have one painting ready to go, but I always like to enter 2 or 3 in any kind of a show that's coming up. So that is what I have on the easel today. Today I thought I would talk a little bit about materials, about what I use and what I recommend. So I am an acrylic painter. I paint primarily with golden fluid acrylics and golden heavy body acrylics, as well as some Liquitex. I occasionally dabble in oil or gouache. The oil paints I use are Winsor Newton Artists and water mixable oils. I don't love them. They're okay. Oil paint is not my forte. I work very quickly in lots of layers, and oil paint just doesn't allow me to do that. I need the previous layer to be dry before I put the next layer on top. So acrylic allows me to do that, which is why I use it. I actually started out originally with traditional oil paints way back in the day when I was painting in junior high and high school. But I switched over to acrylics fairly quickly when I started getting more into the wildlife art and really looking at some inspirations from like Robert Bateman, Terry Isaac, John Seard Lester, those types, most of them painted primarily in acrylic to absolutely wonderful effects. Wonderful book by Terry Isaac called Painting the Drama of Wildlife. That is the book that got me into painting acrylic. It's available on Amazon. Check it out. It's a wonderful how-to book on just how to create fantastic wildlife paintings, and the principles apply to landscape as well. In terms of paints that I use, my golden fluid acrylics are my favorite. They are very, very nice, heavy pigmented, very fluid, but not too fluid. Just a very nice consistency of paint. If I need a thicker application, I do go for the golden heavy body acrylics. And I occasionally use some Liquitex paints as well. I don't love Liquitex. I used to use it extensively before I got into using golden. But I found it's slightly gummy, in my opinion, and that only gets worse as the paint sits in the tube, so it can come out in a very odd consistency, and this isn't a problem I've had with the Goldens. So golden is my primary one right now. I am using Liquitex Titanium White on my palette right now because Michaels was out of golden titanium white, and I refuse to use ink white. So you do what you have to do. Liquitex is still a very high quality paint. I really do recommend their basics line if you're just starting out. Wonderfully pigmented, but very, very affordable. I also paint a little bit in acrylic gouache. That's Liquitex brand. It is an interesting medium. It's acrylic paint that is designed to behave like gouache, so it dries very flat, very matte, and doesn't color shift as much as traditional acrylics, which is very nice. I've completed a whole painting in that before, a big 18 by 24 of sand and crayons that you can see on my website. I also use some Liquitex soft body acrylics. They are similar to the golden fluid acrylics, just with a little bit of a different name. I don't think they're as highly pigmented as the goldens, and golden acrylics have a touch of gloss medium added to them, which gives them a little bit extra shine and a little bit extra depth. It approximates the effect of oil paint a little bit more, which is always, you know, it's kind of what we're going for. How I use my paint is I use it very similar to oils. I start thin, work to thick, start with my darks, work to light, and as Andrew Tischler likes to say, I save my tonal best for last. So those are my mediums that I'm currently using. My brushes are Princeton Aspen brushes by Princeton. Very, very nice brushes. They are actually oil brushes, or they're sold as oil brushes. I use them for acrylic. I find they work great. Wonderful for laying down heavy strokes of texture, heavy strokes of paint, but also very nice for getting fine detail and some very interesting textures with the stiffer bristles. So they are a little stiffer than a normal acrylic brush, but I find that I really like that. They hold up under the weight of my painting strokes a little bit better. I do have a variety of other brushes that I use, including the Royal and Langnickel line of acrylic brushes. All these are available at Michaels. You can get them pretty cheaply. The Princeton Aspens are a little bit on the pricey end, but it's good to invest in some good, high-quality equipment. If you're just starting out, though, something like the Royal Langnickel line, or I have another one in here that I use, which is the Artist Loft Firenze, which is Michael's store brand. Brushes, very affordable, very good. Wonderful for when you are starting out as a beginner. I also use a variety of other items to create texture, from natural sponges, artificial sponges. I use chip brushes. They can create some very interesting textures. Chip brushes are these that you get at the local hardware store. I like to get just a little tiny bit of paint on the end of the brush and then flick it on the canvas to create grass. That's actually how I created a lot of the grass texture back here. It lays down texture very quickly without having to paint every individual blade of grass. If I did that on this painting, I would have lost my mind. So, those are my materials. If you have any questions about what I use, what I don't use, why I use or don't use something, any questions about my painting process, or about myself in general, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I apologize for the sound behind me. That is my heater. It's quite cold today, unfortunately. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.